Hey guys, I'm Britta and thank you for watching my channel. Um, Today we're going to discuss on how I actually got my permanent residency in Australia. So the very reason that I've actually created this video is that I had a couple of friends who've actually reached out to me, and some people who actually discovered that I got my grant, and they were actually curious, and I just felt the need to put this information out. So I hope that anyone watching this will find this helpful, and do subscribe if you find the topic helpful. I'll try to recreate more contents that's related to this, and actually how I actually got it my visa. Okay. Just a disclaimer though that before we start, I'm not really a migration agent nor connected to any of these migration agency, but I highly recommend that you reach out to those migration agent if you're considering to apply for a permanent residence visa for Australia. The very reason is my information is actually based on my experience and my circumstance. So your circumstance could be different from mine. So do keep in mind that there's a lot of visas out there, and there might be those that are more fit to you. But for this video, for the sake of this video, we're going to just discuss on three possible visas for permanent residency, which is 189, 190, and 491. And then, by the way, to give you an information of my profile, so I'm actually coming from I'm originally from the Cebu, Philippines, and I'm currently living in Singapore. I work in tech, and then I decided to try out to do the permanent residency in Australia. So when I tried to apply for this residency, a PR visa, I'm applying as an offshore. So just to highlight that I am an offshore. So if you're watching this and you're actually in Australia, your visa might be different. So that's why I recommend that if you're not really sure, just go to migration agent. Take advantage of those migration agents that are offering free consultancy. They can actually help. That's actually where I started as well, to just to get started. And I didn't really go with the migration agents. I just get to learn like the process, and then I just felt like, oh, maybe I can handle this myself. So if you don't really have that confidence to do the paperwork yourself, or you're not really sure, or you just don't want the headache of doing all these back and forth of processing the visa, especially for your family, probably getting a migration agent would be the best option for you. Okay, so back to the items that we're going to discuss, which is how I got my DIY permanent residency in Australia. So I actually have this list with me. I've just listed them down in case I don't really forget them. So the very first step I did was to get to know my visa. Getting to know your visa is the most important one. So you can actually reach out to a migration agent to find out the best visa for your circumstance. So in this video, we're just going to talk about 189, 190, and 491. So basically, these were the possible visas that the agent told me. And of course, I've done my research as well before I seek help from the migration agent. So just more of like a validation whether I was doing the correct way, or maybe I have some questions that I couldn't really get an answer of doing a lot of Googling. So yeah. So for getting to know the visa, we're going to do a quick comparison on these three visas. So 189 is actually skilled independent visa. Skilled independent visa is, so by the way, before I start, these three visas are point streams, so you really have to get at least 65 points for these visas. So the first one, which is 189, is skilled independent visa. Skilled independent visa is you can basically just go anywhere in Australia for this visa, like just live anywhere, work anywhere, but there's no additional points from any state compared to the next two visas. So it's basically the points will come from you alone, like just your education, experience, age, your single or partner with skills. So the points is all from you. So if you go to 190 and 491, there's actually additional points from these states. Basically, for 190 is state nomination, skilled nomination visa. So skilled nomination visa is actually you're going to get nominated from the state, which means for my case, I've actually got my 190 from Victoria. So down below, I'm going to share like different states of Australia. Okay, and then to help you which part or like how much points you have, the Department of Home Affairs actually has a points calculator wherein you can actually just fill in the details such as your educational background, your age, your work experience, whether you're single or your partner with skills, your English ability. So you're actually being scored based on these. Then if you compare the three visas, 189 is going to just base on these criterias. But if you get 491 is like additional 15 points. And then for 190 is additional 5 points. I'll give you a good comparison for 491 and 190. The difference between these two is actually they're both state nomination visas, but 190 is direct PR. I want to emphasize this, that direct PR visa is 190 and 189 only. 491 is a temporary visa, but after 3 years of grant, you can apply for PR. So that's the difference between these three. So that's why this is what I meant with people with different circumstance, because if you think that you need that additional 15 points, then probably you would want to take a 491, or probably you have really high score, you don't really need these state nominations, you just want to live anywhere in Australia, that's 189 for you. And 190 if you're looking at a specific state and then you just want to extra hike like the 5 points from the state. So yeah, for me, I did the 190. Originally I have 85 points overall, and then when I have the 190, then I have additional 5 points, which makes it 90 points for myself. Okay, so yeah, that's for the visa. Next is actually acquiring skills assessment. I will not cover the details on my skills assessment, because actually in the entire visa processing for me, it actually took me the longest and more paperwork. So that's why I want to probably put this in a different video, and then we'll see if you're interested to know about the skills assessment. But for my case, I work in the tech, so the assessing body of IT is actually ACS, which is Australian Computer Society. So my unschool code is actually 261312, which is developer programmer. So in the Department of Home Affairs website, they have this list of occupations that actually identify your unschool code and the assessing authorities. So you can actually search your profession there, and then you'll see like which code and which assessing body you should be having your skills assessed. Okay, so that's for skills assessment. Now, next one is taking the English language proficiency test. Okay, so the very common English exam is actually PTE and IELTS. For myself, I took PTE. This is based on feedbacks that PTE is much more easier and can be, like you can really prepare for it. But it doesn't mean that you can really take the others. Like you can still take IELTS. IELTS is still one of the English language ability tests that they accept. There's also a few exams that they accept, which is OET, TOEFL, IBT, and Cambridge English, but I'm not really sure like how complicated they are. But these are actually identified as accredited for the English language skills test. Regarding the PTA, if you guys are interested to know like how I got my superior, I'm happy to share the info as well. So do let me know in the comments below. Next one would be apply for EOE. So EOE is expression for interest. So this is actually the first step that when you're really applying for the visa. So this is something you have to apply in the Department of Home Affairs. I'm going to add the link in the description below, so please do check out. So when you're doing the expression of interest, you actually have to provide the details. Most of the details actually are everything like those information that I've actually inputted in the calculator. You have to have your support in that. So the very reason that I've actually listed skills assessment and English test before the EOI step is actually because those are actually documents that you need to include in your expression of interest. So you need to include proofs of them, like the reference number of your skills assessment, the outcome, and then for the English test as well, you need to include reference as well as the date and your score. So that's actually part of the expression of interest. So those are like prerequisites that you really have to do before doing an expression of interest. Okay, so next one would be, okay, next two steps only applies for visa 190 and 491 being state nomination visas. Okay, so the next step is actually apply for ROI. ROI is register of interest. So different states you have to apply for register of interest, and they have different process. So do check out on these different states. So for my case, I've applied for Victoria. So when I actually submitted my registry of interest, when I was filling up the details, I actually needed to include the expression of interest number that I've actually previously did in a previous step. So that's why I've actually put it next to the EOI step. So yeah, you need to have some reference between these two. And then after you submit your register of interest, you would have to wait for me it actually took like 6 months. So this one is really depending on a state's demand for skills. So if you fall on the high demand skills and you have really high score, you're going to get invited even faster. So my case was it took me about 6 months at most, given that I was already in superior English. So yeah, I want to emphasize this, that the higher the score you have, the better you'll be first in line. So you really get as much score as you can. So yeah, so after the ROI, then you get picked, you get selected by the state, you're going to receive an invitation. So an invitation for nomination is actually, you still have to apply for for nomination approval to the state. So that's another waiting time. Some would take for like weeks, days, but for my case it was just an hour, luckily. So once I got the invitation, I really applied for nomination approval right away. So everything was like just an hour. So it's super fast. Then after that, once you get your nomination approval, then you can start preparing for lodging for the actual visa. Because what happens is, once you get the nomination approval, in your EUI is actually, it gets converted to something like, I think, I forgot how it looks like, but it will let you, the button will change to lodge, and then you get to start applying for the actual visa. So that is the real visa part already, which comes to our seventh step, which is lodging your visa. So actually the details that you've added during the expression of interest step are actually here in the actual lodging of the visa. So just about the same, but you're gonna have to attach as many documents, as many proofs as you can with all your claims for age, for English, for residency, for just everything. So you get to apply for, I mean, you get to attach as many documents as you can. Then this is also the step where you have to pay for the visa price, which is 4,770 at the date of recording. And then another thing, actually, when I lodged my visa, right after the payment, I got a receipt, and then the portal changed, and then I received a HAP ID, which is health, something related to health. So I need to do a medical a medical checkup, and then I think it was quite fast, actually. It was just like less than a week. It's quite good, so no worries about that. And I got cleared. And then at that time as well, when I was lodging the visa, I needed to provide police clearance. Luckily, I have police clearance for the Philippines, but for Singapore, I initially attached a statutory declaration of my my personal character here in Singapore, because I thought that I cannot get a police clearance here in Singapore for maybe for visa reasons. So I was quite worried about that. So initially, that was the documents that I've submitted, but actually, I was able to secure a police clearance from Singapore. So for this police clearance thing, if I'm not wrong, it's you need to include police clearance to any country that you lived for a certain amount of month greater than. For my case, I've lived in Philippines for 4 years, and then I've also lived in Singapore for quite a while, so that's why I needed to provide two. So that's for the police clearance. And by the way, when you lodge your visa, if you think that you have documents that you've missed, or you still have more proofs to add, please just attach them, because some of the visa applications are taking too long, especially if there are missing documents. So when the agent doesn't find proofs on such claims, or they're not satisfied with the claims, they will ask for more documents. And this actually takes time, because what happens is, if they check your documents, it's missing, it's going to go back to the stack, and it's going to do a waiting time. So I really recommend that please attach all the documents as you can and all the proofs that you can for all your claims. For my case, I was quite lucky because I didn't really have this scenario wherein there's a back and forth between the agent who processed my visa. So it was quite smooth. Like, it's just the next email I got is just grant already. So basically, I've lodged my visa in January 2023, and on November 2023 I got my grant. So it was about 10 months. Yeah, about 10 months to get my grant. So quite a wait, but it's all worth it. So yeah. Actually that's about it. So if you have any questions, or you want me to elaborate some of the parts of this video, let me know in the comment section below, and I'm going to create more videos for you. And I really hope that you find this helpful, and please do hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.